Hello, my name is Andree Hurst with the Lafayette Historical Society Oral History Project, and today we are speaking with Mark Silverman, who is the son of Herman Silverman, who ran the Lafayette Sun newspaper and many other newspapers in the area, and Mark is going to tell us about that. Mark was born September 29th, 1946 in San Francisco, but his parents moved to Lafayette shortly after when Mark was 1, so he's lived here all of his life. Now, let's listen to the interview with Mark Silverman. So your parents moved here from San Francisco. Was there a reason, something that
I think,
brought them here?
yeah, they came here because they had bought the newspaper, the Lafayette Sun.
Ah.
So to run the
Now,
Lafayette Sun,
did your father run that, or did they run it together, mother and father?
she was a co-publisher, he was a publisher. So
Okay,
I he
yeah,
put more of her time into it than she did because she was also raising us.
sure.
Um, but she spent time also
Okay.
on the
Um,
newspaper.
Now, what were your parents' names, mother and father?
Uh, Herman Silverman and uh, Eleanor Silverman. Her maiden name was Judell, Judell.
Great. Um, do you recall when your parents were born? What years, roughly?
Yeah, my dad was born October 16th, 1920, and my mother was born April 25th or 26th, 1922.
So they were young people coming here in their 20s,
Right.
arriving here. That is pretty amazing. What did your father have any or mother have any publishing experience prior to this, or did they think this would be something they could come and build?
He had experience. He was on starting with his high school newspaper. I think he was the editor, but I don't know. Then he worked on his university newspaper, the Stanford Daily, and then he was uh, the editor or the person in charge of a newspaper in Canada of the U.S. Air Force.
Oh, interesting.
He volunteered, asked them if he could do that as his part of his service. Oh, and then he worked for the San Francisco Call Bulletin as a reporter.
Mhm.
Uh, I guess when he got back from the war, sometime maybe starting in 45.
So he was in the war as well.
Hmm.
Wow.
But
Oh,
in Canada.
okay. Well, if you have to be in World War II, that's a nice place. My father was in World War II in Chatham, Massachusetts, so that's
Yeah,
it's nice if you don't have to be right on the front
that's
lines there.
right. Yeah.
Well, that's wonderful. So, did your parents meet in San Francisco, or did
No,
your father meet your mother after? Well, no, yeah, they must have because you were already born. So,
right. They met at university.
oh, at Stanford.
Yeah.
That's great. Do you have any brothers or sisters?
My brother lives in San Francisco,
Hmm.
about a
So
year and a half younger than me.
you have just the one sibling?
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
shouldn't say just. You have one sibling.
Hmm.
And what is your brother's name?
Daniel,
And he's 1 year, you said,
year and a half younger than me.
younger. Okay, so then he was born here, I guess.
He was born in Berkeley, actually.
Okay. Um, well, I suppose that you have seen quite a bit of change in Lafayette in all of the years that you've lived here.
Yeah. I mean, though I didn't live in Lafayette that much after I went to university, um, just to visit. But yeah, it's changed quite a bit.
Okay, so you would come here to visit your parents,
Yeah,
and they stay here the whole time, in for their whole lives? Or
my dad did, except they got divorced, I think, in '73. Uh, and then later he, with his girlfriend, who then became his wife, his second wife, um, they lived in, rented a house in Walnut Creek some of the time, but basically in the Lafayette Walnut Creek area. My
okay.
mother moved around. She lived in San Francisco, then the Virgin Islands, then Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
Nice.
Yeah.
What was it like being the son growing up with your father in charge? What was his title then with the
Probably publisher.
publisher of Lafayette Sun?
Yeah.
Do you
Might have been
remember
publisher and editor. I can't
did you
remember.
ever work for the
Yeah, I did two
newspaper
summers.
for two
That was
summers?
fun. And I learned a lot. That was fun.
Oh, great. Did you also go to Stanford?
They went to Stanford. Yeah.
Where did you go to school?
Oh, yeah. I went to Stanford.
You went to Stanford as well.
Yeah.
Nice. What did you study?
Uh, Social sciences. It was called social thought, my particular major. It was a small major. It was
Uh-huh.
great.
How did that pan out for you? Did you end up pursuing a career in that, or did you do something completely different?
I'm not even sure what a career in social thought would be. Um, I had different jobs, and then my career was as a lawyer starting in '83 after law school. '80 to '83 was law school, and then I worked. I was very lucky. I worked in one place from '83 to 2018 when I retired.
Oh,
It was a great job.
fantastic.
I worked, when I started, I had two jobs, but
Hmm.
that was just for a period of a year and a half.
What kind of law did you? Um,
Immigration law.
Interesting. Nice.
And I worked at a nonprofit group.
Hmm.
That was, I was very happy with that,
Uh,
as
what what was
evidenced
the
by the
name of
fact that
the? Yeah, go ahead.
Immigrant Legal Resource Center. The fact that I stayed at that job from '83 till I retired. So
You
it's
must have helped a lot of
35 years.
people. Must have helped a lot of people.
Mm, we hope so. Yeah, it was a little different. We didn't represent individuals very much, but we provided help to lawyers, giving technical assistance to lawyers. That was our main. But yeah, my particular interest was working with immigrant groups, and so I did a lot of community meetings and
Hmm.
worked with a lot of grassroots. That's what in fact, I'm doing a little bit of that now.
It would be a good time to be involved in that issue.
Yeah,
I would
difficult,
imagine.
but a good time.
Yeah.
But I get to pick and choose what I do now.
How did your father influence you as a young person in pursuing? Did he influence you in terms of your pursuits, or just seeing
Um,
him in the career he had?
yeah, he was. Um, he was quite a liberal guy who was um, supporting those who had a tough time. he when I'd ask him about Franklin Roosevelt, he'd get teary-eyed and he said, if it wasn't for Roosevelt, my family would have lost their home. You know, Roosevelt, this is probably TMI for you, but Roosevelt, under his administration, they uh, bolstered the mortgages that people had. And a lot of people would have lost their homes. So that was kind of his, and he remained kind of liberal guy.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
when I was, we didn't, when I resisted the draft, he didn't go along with that but he became against the war himself. He was worried about me when I resisted the draft, but both my parents were, but that was more their concern. But
Sure.
they were proud of me.
Sure.
That's probably TM.
No, and the times changed a lot between and the war. It was a completely different war, wasn't it, than the war
Yeah.
your father was in?
Yeah. I would have fought in the war my father was in.
Yeah, I've heard that
I
from a lot.
like to say that was our last good war.
Do you remember when? Let's talk a little bit about the Lafayette Sun.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember the year that it started before your father took it over?
Oh, right. I don't know,
Was,
actually.
was
I
it
think
like
it was
turns?
sometime. I think it had been there sometime. I
Mm-hmm.
think he bought it from a guy named Larry Guitar. I must have the name somewhat wrong.
Okay.
Um, Lafayette, it's an interesting question what it was like. 'Cause Lafayette was changed from a small town with a lot of ranching
Mm-hmm.
to a suburban town right around the time my dad worked and mom worked hard, but they were also very lucky because they bought the Lafayette Sun just as the suburbs were coming to Contra Costa County.
Yes, lots of change and then Route 24 going in, and
Yeah,
then
that was somewhat later, I think.
that was a little bit later. Yeah.
Not sure when.
Certainly the tunnel in 37 made a big difference.
Yeah,
Caldecott Tunnel brought a lot of people out.
probably the
Um,
GI Bill.
Now, there were some other sons, the Moraga son, Orinda son. Were
Right.
they related? Did your
Oh,
father?
yeah, they were all related. The Walnut Creek Sun, the Pleasant Hill Sun.
So did your father own this?
Yeah, no, all of them.
Oh, he had all
They,
of them.
but you see, they were essentially one paper with slightly different local news.
Oh, that makes so much sense. So you have
Yeah,
one paper, and then you have maybe a section, a circular something that had the
yeah,
local news.
yeah. But it was not like he owned or they owned.
Did he buy it that way, or did he grow it into that?
He grew it, and again, that was hard work, but also serendipity.
Smart.
Well, smart, but some of it was luck uh, that the suburbs were growing. Um, what was your precise question again?
Did he grow it, or did he buy it that way?
I think it might have had more than the Lafayette Sun. I don't remember,
Okay. Okay.
but
Um,
most of the papers were added. Yeah,
all right. And so he must have had a, a, a decent sized staff. It was a
yeah,
newspaper era.
yeah.
Um, Certainly not like today where newspapers are really struggling. I would say that was
Right.
kind of the heyday of the newspaper era, wasn't it?
I
Like,
don't know if it was a heyday having newspapers in the suburbs. Yeah,
so
and
He
and
must have then done had ad sales and.
yeah, ad sales were the way newspapers made money then.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, they are now, but they have a tough time.
Mm-hmm. Because there are so many other alternatives,
Yeah, mainly
right?
digital. Yeah.
So did he and your mother enjoy the work? Did they used to talk about it when they would come home? Was it the kind of job that you bring home with you, or what was that like?
Yeah, I think, yeah, he did. And they did. And uh, until maybe 62, till 61 or 62, they enjoyed it quite a bit. My mom wrote a column, a weekly column, um, and she was involved in selling ads too. He was in, it was relatively small paper, so he was involved in the editorial part, but also the selling advertising part.
Then you have
Uh,
to put the ads together.
yeah, maybe he had other people I doing that.
Yeah. Of course, I guess some people could supply the ads too. Um, that's interesting. And so you had said until about what year did they run
Oh,
it?
I don't. Yeah, I think
Early
he sold
60s?
it in '63. He was us. They were the papers were a small fish that was threatened to be eaten by a bigger fish, which was the Contra Costa Times,
Oh.
which was, I don't know, you run into the name Dean Lesher or the Lesher Theater or something like. There's a
Oh, is that the same thing as the Lesher Center for the Arts?
yes,
Same family?
yeah,
So the Lesher family back then, did he did they offer to buy your
yeah,
dad's?
because and good, and they would have probably swallowed it up or be because they were a lot bigger. Or
Mhm.
so my parents made a wise decision, but there
Get out
was
while the getting's
there,
good.
yeah, it was stressful a period before then. I remember,
Must have been. Yeah, must
uh,
have been.
but just in the toward the end, I think they
And
enjoyed it.
then
They
and
they they
they.
won a lot of prizes, newspaper
Mhm.
prizes for.
Oh.
Um,
Do you remember any of the names of the prizes they won?
some, I think it was California Newspaper Publishing Association, CNPA, and they were for different things, editorial, right? I mean, I don't mean editorial like opinion, but the editorial part, but also advertising. Um, they did win at least one, maybe more, was for the best weekly in California. It might have been just a CNPA members that I don't know. I remember being in a picture with Goody Knight or Goodwin Knight, who was governor of California. So there was him and me and my brother.
Nice. Well, it looks like I'm looking here that the Contra Costa Sun started right around the time these other ones were. So
Yeah,
he did
that
not. So Contra Costa Sun then just was one newspaper that then just covered the whole area.
I think it was more for advertising,
Okay.
like average. I think that was a free.
Oh,
I unless that, do you have the year that unless that was
1980.
1980.
Hmm.
Oh well, then
I was later,
wow,
I guess.
then that was a paper started by Lesher.
Yeah, must have been. Yeah, I guess he liked the name Sun.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we shouldn't speculate. This is a okay. Let's just see here now. So, after your parents sold the newspapers, what did your father do at that point?
At a certain point after that, he became a newspaper consultant where he would consult with other newspapers. And that was for most of his career,
Hmm,
uh, from sometime in the 60s. I don't know if it's
sure. Okay.
sometime between 63 and 65 until maybe he was in his 70s. So if it was until he was 1970, till he was 75, that would be 1995. I don't know if he did it right up to that time, but or a few years before that. And he liked that quite a bit.
That's great.
Mainly weekly newspapers.
Yeah. Yes.
And his focus was on advertising, including the now defunct part of the business called classified advertising. They may be done differently now, but online.
That was very popular, the classifieds.
Yeah.
Well, because nobody had the internet to find
Right,
things.
exactly.
You needed a babysitter, or if you needed an employee, or if you were trying to sell something, anything, really.
Yeah, right.
That's probably, I bet that was pretty lucrative, selling little classified, because there were so many of them, they probably added up.
Right, that was a big, so I was saying about, so his awards were, or not their awards were in a lot of different areas, but the highlight would have been best weekly newspaper.
That's great. At the height, do you recall how many employees there were or where it was located?
On Oak Hill Road.
So it was
started in a little place, but they
okay.
moved it to Oak Hill Road. It's still called that, right?
Yes, right by when you go by
The Safeway.
Safeway. Do you remember where the building was?
On the other side of the street, the left-hand side.
So was it over there by where?
About two blocks above Mount Diablo Boulevard.
Okay, so it was sort of on this side, on the downtown side of the underpass, but
right.
not
Assuming the underpass was there then at the beginning.
So that's where, so people could actually probably walk right in and do their classified ad, like.
Yeah. Oh, one thing I didn't tell you during the early period. My father, the newspaper exposed gambling that was mainly out of restaurants.
On Tunnel Strip.
I think so. Is that going to Orinda?
Yes.
Yes, very good. I hadn't heard of Tunnel Strip, but yeah.
We did it. We recently did a story on Tunnel Strip and all of the very entertaining establishments, and some of them having these slot machines and other things in there.
I think they had some, I think there were card rooms too, but I was too young to participate. But I heard about it when I was growing up, and they put a lot of pressure on him, including a publication out of Hollywood that was essentially for hire, and they accused him of being a communist because he took the history of Western civilization at Stanford, which was a required course for the son of children of capitalists, as well as the son of a tailor like my dad.
So they didn't want him in that gambling business, so they came up with.
Well, they didn't want him exposing the gambling business.
So they had some threats. That must have been a little scary for him.
Yeah, must have been. But they worried about that they could lose their business.
Well, sure.
I don't think they were afraid physically, but or as a major thing. But and that was, I admired, when I learned about it later, I admired them for doing that.
Yeah.
That was a contribution to, that I think was a holdover from when Lafayette was kind of a cowboy town.
Well, it's interesting because there could have been a split, and I don't know if you ever saw that movie, It's a Wonderful Life, with the Pottersville, and
with Jimmy Stewart.
Yeah, it could have been gone in that direction instead of kind of a wholesome direction with the gambling and it could have, the town, it could have sort of.
Yeah, I think there were a lot of forces contributing to making it a safe suburb. But I think my parents' contribution was one small contribution.
Sure. So now when he, I guess those stories were done probably in the late 40s, probably pretty soon after he came on
Yeah,
board.
late 40s and maybe into the early 50s.
Yeah, yeah.
I remember a sheriff that had good relations with my dad, but my dad's, I think, told us later that he was involved and
On the take.
yeah, I don't remember his name.
Yeah, yeah. Interesting. I was going to ask you if there was a kind of a really interesting story related to the newspaper that you could tell us, and I think that's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, that was big business risk.
Well, sure. People could have, I'm sure they did make it pretty uncomfortable, but he was able to continue doing
Right.
what he does.
Oh, they put pressure on advertisers to stop, and there were advertisers that stopped advertising.
How about that?
Yeah.
Probably until public opinion went in your dad's direction and then
Right.
the pendulum swung and
Right.
well, good
Probably.
for
Yeah.
him. That's brave.
Yeah. I was
Uh-huh.
proud of him.
Yeah.
I think I told him later in his, I mean, I told him earlier too, but I hope that was one of the things I told him later in his life.
Yeah.
We had a very good relationship.
Oh, that's
I mean,
wonderful.
it wasn't when I was a rebellious teenager and
In the
in my
60s.
20s, I may not.
Um, what else would you like to talk about here? I can refer to these questions. Uh, where did you live as a family? What neighborhood was your family living in?
Glenside Drive in Lafayette.
Okay, it's close to where I live.
Now?
So Burton Valley, kind of
Yeah.
in what is now more popularly known as Burton Valley. Um,
I think it might have been then too. I'm not sure.
how about you in high school here? What are some of your fond memories of living in Lafayette as a teen?
Or as a little kid,
Yeah,
I loved playing with my friends, and
a lot of open space.
yeah, a lot of open space actually. Um,
When you were young, was there a pond down there behind the Park Theater? Do you
a
remember that?
pond. No, I
Was
don't
there a,
remember. I
maybe.
do. I do remember going to the Park Theater on Saturdays, and we paid 25 cents to get in the movies.
Oh, that's wonderful.
That was fun.
Yeah. And you were telling me about the places you went with your friends and
Oh, we would do sports like at we had a basketball court. We invented games like ping pong baseball with my friend David Sargent. His parents had a basement. We used to play there, except when his dad, trying to be careful when his dad was sleeping.
oh,
Because
right, I'm sure.
his dad worked bad shifts.
Uh-huh. Yeah, gotta be careful with that. What about outdoors? Did you guess there weren't as many homes.
Yeah, well, we played. There was there was a weekly softball game, I think, right next to our house, which is now up with homes, and we played in our yard. Um,
And did you live near the creek there? There's a creek
hmm,
that runs near Glen. Oh, what about the train? Do you remember the train going
yeah,
through?
I do.
Tell me about that.
I remember the noise of the train. My parents told me that there were rumors, I don't know how tongue in cheek, that the people close to the train tracks had more children because they woke up at night and had sex, I guess was the idea.
Did they always give you stern warnings not to play near the tracks?
No, we weren't that close.
Oh, okay.
They
Yeah.
probably did, but we weren't that close
Yeah.
to the track. Yeah, so it was fun playing with my friends. In
Did you have like a favorite place to go after school downtown?
No, we didn't really go downtown. It wasn't that convenient.
Hmm.
Um, Maybe later, as we go to the movies as teenagers.
Now, I guess that bar was still there, the
Uh,
saloon.
yeah, it's
Did
still
you?
there, right?
Yeah. Did you go there when you became of age?
No, I have as an adult, but um,
What were some of the favorite hangouts for teenagers?
uh, I guess the movie theater. Um, I remember going on dates to the movie theater.
Sure.
Uh, I'm not sure. I
Was
guess,
there a pharmacy with some
yeah, sort of.
sodas?
Yeah, and that was a place too. I like that. We like
Sure.
that.
Sure. Yeah, I guess it had a different, probably the not as many cars.
Yeah, but that's true, probably. But every family had to have one or two cars.
I'm thinking like downtown. Maybe
Oh,
there weren't quite as much
right,
downtown traffic
right. Probably that's
as there
correct.
is now. Yeah. Interesting.
Then in um, later in high school, I was involved in student government and but more important, civil rights things.
Oh, that's
I
sort of
mean, not
queued you up for what you do as a career,
yeah,
what you did as a
that
career,
right.
which is interesting because Lafayette was traditionally a very white town, very white community. So it's interesting that you
Yeah,
were interested in those things. Probably maybe a little bit your father's work opened your eyes,
yeah.
or
And my mother too. She was.
brother.
We were yeah. We were even trying to arrange an exchange between our high school and Berkeley High,
Hmm.
having kids from Berkeley High, which would include black kids coming over. It didn't happen, but
Yeah,
not because of resistance of the administration. It just
sure. It
didn't
just
happen.
didn't happen. Yeah, yeah, that's interesting. So
I
you,
should let you ask the questions now. Okay.
oh no, that's okay because I'm following your lead here. I
Yeah,
just
but
want to
yeah,
make sure.
I saw something that said 8 minutes a few minutes ago.
Yeah, we have about 5 minutes left. We uh Where do you see Lafayette going in the future, and what are your thoughts about where the town is now? And
Um, well, I don't follow it that much except through a couple of friends, especially one friend.
Mhm,
Uh, I mean, I do I do support the idea of changing the zoning so that people can live there who
mhm,
aren't in the upper middle class or rich.
mhm.
And that's for all over for all of California.
Sure, that SB
One of
9.
the husbands of one of my friends has been is on the city council and was pushing for that.
Okay, interesting. Just remind me again where you're living now.
San Francisco,
San Francisco.
Opera Plaza, Van Ness, and Golden Gate.
Okay, nice. Yeah. Okay, good. Well, I think that just about wraps it up. If there's nothing else you can think of, that you would like to share. If you have any photos of family, of course, the Historical Society is always thrilled to make copies or, have some photos in the archive of your family would be really nice to go along with your oral history.
Okay, I'll see.
You can always take your photos with your camera and email them too.
Oh, oh, you mean current photos?
Yeah, or no,
Okay.
just photos from an album. You could go
Oh, I
through and
see. Right.
take some pictures of pictures, and sometimes that works too. Wonderful.
Okay,
Well,
Andre, it's a
it
pleasure
was
talking to you.
very nice to speak with you. And I will let you know. This will be edited a little bit, like this part will be edited out. Um, and they may put a part of the interview on the Lafayette Historical Society website related to your dad and you. And they have a little section of people that they've talked to over the years, and it's
Great.
nice.
It's a good job. You did a very good job.
Well, thank you very much.
Okay, Andre.
All right, I appreciate you filling out that little release as well when you have a chance, and
Okay.
that I emailed, and we will be in touch when we have something for you to look at.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Bye,
you.
Mark.
Bye now.